Good morning, everyone, and welcome to another great and instructive video. Today's lesson is about adjective, but more especially different types of adjectives. We'll talk about four main aspects. So yay, let's get started.
So the first aspect that we're going to talk about are relative clauses as noun modifiers. So a little introduction to adjectives in relative clauses. What are relative clauses, first of all? Well, they serve to modify or describe nouns in complex sentences. They also fulfill an adjectival function by providing additional information about the noun. Now, here are some examples to clear
But
uh,
first, let us hear a word from our sponsors at Grammarly. Grammarly is a tool that helps you write with confidence, find the best words to express yourself, and communicate your ideas with ease. But wait, there's more! Adjust your writing tone and rewrite full sentences fluently, as well as generate text with 1000 AI prompts, all while catching accidental plagiarism with Grammarly's premium plan. Now, you might be telling yourself, but I don't have $12 USD per month for Grammarly Premium. Well, don't worry, because my team and I negotiated a great promo code offer for you guys. You can use code Please Give Us an A Plus for $5 off of your first month at checkout. Don't miss out.
Now, back at our subject, here are some examples for you guys. So first we have, this is the pickpocket that I saw in Italy. So as you guys can see in the other examples here, the ones that are in green are the nouns, and what is in italics are the relative pronouns. And finally, at the end, what's underlined are basically what's modifying the nouns. So I'm going to introduce some relative pronouns that start a relative clause, which are that, who, whom, where, which, whose, and when. You guys can see some examples down below, which are also in the previous slide.
Now, what are the types of relative clauses? So we have the restrictive and non-restrictive relative clauses. So first, with the restrictive relative clause, it's going to specify a particular entity or subgroup from among others. And for the non-restrictive relative clause, as its name states, it's going to elaborate on the noun without restricting its meaning. Also, something to note is if ever you find yourself having to choose between the relative pronoun that or which in a non-restrictive relative clause, you're always going to choose which. So that's just something to note. So now let's look at an example to understand both a little bit better. So we're going to use the sentence, we have invited IEL students who are in the TESOL program. So here, this is a restrictive relative clause because who's invited? So not all of the IEL students, only those who are in the TESOL program. So we're restricting the rest of the people in the IEL's programs that aren't in the TESOL one. Now, for the non-relative restrictive relative clause, with the same example, but modified it a little bit. So we have invited IEL students, comma, who are in the TESOL program. So this here would make it a non-restrictive relative clause. The only difference is the comma. So according to this, when you read it means that all of the IEL students that are mentioned are already in the TESOL program. So it's not restricting the other programs because we're just talking about the ones in the TESOL program. So the added information doesn't change the designation of who the main noun refers to. Now we have also the appositive phrases. So that's a subcategory of non-restrictive relative clauses. Let's elaborate.
Positive phrases simply add another name to a previously mentioned noun. So how do we compose this positive phrases? So we basically have a noun followed by a comma to provide additional details about that noun. It could also be used with a restrictive relative clause, that. So although it was previously mentioned that it was a subcategory of a non-restrictive relative clause, well, we could also use a restrictive relative clause, which is that. So you guys can see here in the example, he celebrated Chinese New Year, a holiday that every Chinese person spends with their family. So here, as you guys can see, after the noun Chinese New Year, there is a comma, and we also use the restrictive relative clause that here in green.
Next, let's talk about nouns modified with prepositional phrases. Prepositional phrases can modify nouns with reduced relative clauses as adjectives. So here we have the muffins that are in the cafe are good. So in their reduced form, it would be the muffins in this cafe are good. So that are is removed. Prepositional phrases can also not be reduced. They can be reversed to a relative clause. Here, some example with at, of, with, and to. And now let's look at the example with. Here we have boots with the fur. So here, preposition with was used. Now we have adjective phrases. Adjective phrases also modify nouns. They consist of a head adjective and another word that modify or complement the adjective. Here we have, she has the super hot tea. Here, super in yellow is a modifier to the head adjective hot. Then in the other example, we have that chicken is so incredibly unseasoned. So here we have two modifiers. So incredibly, that are modifying the head adjective unseasoned.
Now for number 4, nouns functioning as adjectives. So this can happen when you have two nouns beside each other in one sentence and one of them function as a modifier for the other noun. For example, the second sentence, be our guest and have the best dining experience. Dining and experience are two nouns, but in this sentence, dining will modify the noun experience.
Now, who do we teach it to? Our team have concluded that we could teach it to the advanced level, more precisely at the end of cycle 2 in secondary. So the reason would be that it is not a requirement to know all of the rules of adjectives, and also non-relative clauses could be interesting to teach, but it does not affect the students' language fluency and their intelligibility.
So if a teacher has the time to teach this grammatical aspect, we thought of a small activity to assess their understanding at the end of the lesson. So the students would start the activity in teams of 2. The teacher would give out images that resemble each other but are all a little bit different. Then each team would have to describe their image using the new adjective types that they just learned. And at the end of the activity, students would have to guess which images they were describing. Also, if you want to make it more fun, you can use dice. So when the students create their description, they have to roll a die, which will tell them what they need to use from the lecture. So they could have a non-restrictive clause and a non-modifier in their description.
Now that's going to be it for our video of the week. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment any content suggestions that you guys would like to see. Last video, a lot of subscribers requested in the comment section for us to do a lesson in real life. So, since we have always hoped to see our subscribers IRL, we have decided to hold a meet and greet with you guys. We are going to be in Montreal at UQAM University on March 28th at 9:30 a.m. for our micro teaching. Anyways, we can't wait to see you guys soon. Make sure to come. Our team will see you guys soon. Mwah.
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 If you don't like the way I talk, then why am I on your mind?
Mwah.
If you don't like the way I talk, then why am I on your mind?